Becoming a veterinarian is a dream that I had since I was a very little boy. When I got my first big pet, which was Tiny, I'll make a video about him soon, that like really changed my life. That's when I became a vegetarian. That's when I realized that I wanted to become a vet. And the goal of wanting to go to vet school got me thinking about college at an early age. No one in my family's gone to college before, but I knew you had to go to college to be a vet. So that from the time I was 9 years old, I started researching what are the top vet schools. How do you get into vet school? To get to vet school, you have to get into college first. How do you get into college? What do you have to do to get to college? So that goal really sustained me through high school. I got good grades. I was voted the best student in science in my entire school. And I was like one of the only, to my knowledge, there was one other girl who did the program with me who was in my class, but no one else was involved in undergrad research while they were in school. And I did diabetes research at UCSF during my during the summer after my junior year of college, or of high school. And I say all of that because even though, I'm going to get into that in a second, even though I've realized that I no longer want to go to vet school anymore, having that goal in mind, going through having to go to vet school or wanting to go to vet school got me through so much of my life and really supported me and really helped me. You know, I would not have a degree in chemistry if it wasn't for that, for having that goal. And so anyway, I don't see it as being like, oh, so much for that. I really see it as like that was a huge part of my life. And so needless to say, it was not an easy decision, and it was multiple reasons. So if you've watched my other videos, you'll know that like in the end of 2017, I worked for the last vet that I worked for, and she took her own life. So after that happened, I started doing a lot of research, and I realized that actually that's not very uncommon in the veterinary profession. There's a thing called compassion fatigue because a huge part of most vets' jobs is putting animals to sleep, and that really wears on someone. That can really wear on someone, and so it's such a huge problem that there's a term for it. It's called compassion fatigue. So a lot of these vets feel just emotionally drained. They have no one to turn to. Veterinary school is a 4-year process, just like medical school, just like pharmacy school, just like dental school. The thing about veterinary school is that in the United States, there's only 30. There's only 30 veterinary schools compared to 130 medical schools. Actually, I'm sorry, I think it's like 26. And needless to say, it's a lot harder of a process to get into veterinary school, to get into medical school. A lot of people have secondary degrees before they get in. They almost like a lot of them end up applying multiple times. So after I graduated from undergrad, I had all this debt. I mean, I still have a lot of debt, and it began like this fight in me because I've always loved animals. Animals have been my pride and passion. I know that no matter what I end up doing, it's going to be something with animals. But the entrepreneur in me, the entrepreneur that ripped up all the strawberry plants in his backyard one day and sold them door to door, the entrepreneur in me that never got an allowance but still always had money growing up as a kid because I was a little hustler, the entrepreneur in me that dropped out of college to start my business that I still have to this day, that person couldn't justify spending, having all this debt and then dropping a whole bunch more money to go to vet school, which is something that I don't know why it's so expensive to become, because it's something that's bettering society. I never had really much interest in working with dogs and cats. I thought that would be too mainstream for me. I was thinking maybe horses. There's a huge demand for large animal vets, like for cattle and for poultry, because no one wants to go into that. A lot of people 70% of the people go in for dogs and cats. So that was where my interest lied. There were also a lot of scholarship opportunities. But I have to be honest, a lot of the vets that I worked for really weren't happy. They were extremely stressed out. So like going back to what we were saying about how hard it is to get into vet school. Well, all right. Well, after you graduate, and vet school ain't easy, but then after you graduate, so a lot of people have loans that they have to start paying off immediately. But on top of that, it's not like being a doctor who oftentimes work at hospitals and they don't have to run their own practices. But vets, pharmacists, dentists, those, you are expected to start managing your own practice. And I found that the stress of doing that took a huge toll on a lot of my previous employers. And I've had my own problems with depression, and I've had my own issues being suicidal before, and I realized that probably wasn't the best career choice for me to go into for that reason. One of those reasons, for that being one of the reasons, and then the other ones I've explained in this video. One last thing that I came to realize before I made the decision that, well, how's it been? It's been over 10 years. Over 10 years of my life have been devoted to wanting to go to vet school and to just going towards that end. It's more like 15 years. I've been a vegetarian for 15 years, vegan for 2. Anyway, just trying to say, like, it was not an easy decision. But the other thing that I came to realize, and that came to mind, is that vets have to work their businesses or practice veterinary medicine with their businesses in mind. And I found that oftentimes that compromised the care that they were able to provide their patients, because they have to keep their bottom line. They have to keep their bottom line. Watch out for that. Make sure that they're making a profit. And I will always have a huge respect for vets. I admire vets so much. I always will. And I am not here in any way to say anything negative about veterinarians. And I totally understand that. But I found that, for me anyway, what I wanted out of vet school, what I wanted to get out of vet school, a lot of it was the prestige. No one in my family's gone to college before, let alone become a doctor. So I wanted the prestige of being a doctor of veterinary medicine. And that, I came to realize, was not a good enough reason to go through all the things that, it takes to become a vet. Furthermore, when I started my business, and after I gave it some time, and I actually became established here in Santa Barbara. It was a lot of work, but I started to see the results of my work. I started to make good money. I got a good trajectory in front of me. My business is growing at a phenomenal rate. I'm super happy with what's going on. And honestly, I love what I do. I love serving my clients. A lot of my clients are older people who sometimes can't leave their houses. So I come to them, and it makes me so happy to talk to them, to give them the time of day. So it only takes me 5 minutes to trim a cat's nails. But sometimes my appointments will take me 20-30 minutes, because I just love talking to my clients for 20 minutes and just hearing about how their lives are, their experiences. I've always had the huge belief that if someone made it to old age, there's a lot of stuff that we can learn from them. And I love and admire my clients so much. And I love the flexibility that having my own business has afforded me. So those are the reasons why I don't want to go to vet school anymore. Wasn't the easiest decision, but it is the one that I've come to, and I'm happy with it, and I've come to terms with it. And that's why I made this video.